Welcome to Topline, the podcast for the best founders, operators, and investors in B2B tech. Every week, AJ Bruno, Asad Zaman, and me, Sam Jacobs, will break down what's important for you to know to be the most well-informed professionals in the market.
The future of go-to-market intelligence is here. Ready to supercharge your pipeline and boost revenue? ZoomInfo's GTM 25 Roadshow is your front seat to what's next in go-to-market strategy. Join industry experts, seasoned practitioners, and peers to get AI ready and build the roadmap for your next big leap. Walk away with a blueprint that ignites innovation and leaves you buzzing with bold ideas. Join ZoomInfo live in Boston on June 3rd, San Francisco on June 12th, London on June 19th, or attend virtually from anywhere. Register now using the link in the show notes.
Hey everyone, welcome to Topline Spotlight. You know Topline Spotlight. It's where we talk to founders, CEOs, executives of their companies about challenges and problems that they're facing, and we learn a little bit. I am your host, AJ Bruno. I am joined by Eric Anderson. Eric is the CEO of Walnut. Eric, welcome to the show.
Thank you, AJ. Good to be here.
So before we begin, I think we're 15 minutes into this because I was just so fascinated by your background, and I was like, wait, we should actually be recording this. But before we begin, if you want to give everyone just a kind of a quick blurb about you and some interesting things. And then what I'm really interested in is in December of last year, you took over as CEO of a company, and I have experience with this, not from the CEO side, but from being a founder side and all of the fun that comes with that. So really excited to dive into that. But before we begin, just would love to hear, in your own words, your background.
Yeah, I'll do this without trying to age myself, but 28 years of helping to lead and scale tech companies, very focused in the go-to-market disciplines. So I've been running go-to-market teams as either president or CRO for several decades now. And I got a call. I'd been looking for a CEO post for quite some time, and I got a call from a good friend of mine who's an executive recruiter. He said that he had the perfect first-time CEO gig for me. If ever anything existed, that was a perfect first-time CEO gig.
Which, by the way, the perfect, that does, now, Eric, right? That doesn't exist. That's not a thing.
That's exactly right. It was the hook that got me to talk to him and talk to the company. I'm extremely happy. So glad I made the move. But if you only knew then what you know now, it's a company that has a really, really solid product, and that's, I think, the strength of Walnut is the product, the engineering side, and what's still in Tel Aviv and what's being run out of Israel is really, really solid. And that's important for me because that's the least side of my background, right? I'm really a kind of a go-to-market executive. And that's where I think the fun has begun. Looking at the cultural differences, not only between Israel and the U.S., the geographic separation, where you have part of the team over there, the growing part of the new executive leadership team here in the States. Clearly,
well, because you're in San Jose, so I'm really bad with figuring out time differences between. I'm guessing it's 8 hours if I had to guess.
10 hours.
10 hours?
10 hours.
What time do you start your day?
5 a.m.
Oh my goodness. But living in California, there's some level, and being an operator for over 20 years, there's some level of you're used to that. Is that fair to say?
Always up early to catch Europe's day, and then up late to catch Asia's day as well. So you get pulled from both sides. But this and I think as you and I were talking before, that taking over from a founder is just very unique. It's not replacing just another CEO. You're stepping into something that he created. It's his baby, and all the culture and the vision and the mission and the sweat and blood and equity that he poured into it, you're now stepping into for both good and challenges that need to be fixed.
Yeah.
And
well, Eric, real quick. First off, I mentioned earlier that the founder, I had a co-founder, Matt Allison at Trendkite, and the CEO that took over there, his name was Eric as well. Eric Huddleston. And I remember to your point, I remember Matt and I sitting down as we were raising our Series B, and Matt was the CEO at the time. We knew we wanted to go find an experienced operator. It was a fundability opportunity for us. And we sat down with Eric and we're like, Eric, why do you want to be the CEO of Trendkite? And he looked straight at us, dead serious. And he said, because you guys have already put in the sweat, blood, and equity into this business. So that hard part's done. And I was like, what? That's not, no, I should have given me an indication of what's to come. What I actually know Eric well, still today, we're still friendly, but there was definitely like a cooling off period, as you can imagine. It was a great outcome for the business at the end of the day. But I look back at that now, knowing Eric's personality, I know what he meant, which is what you're talking to is like, this thing exists. It's now up to me as a steward of it to figure out how do we make sure we highlight and embrace the parts that are working, but we change the parts that are clearly broken. There's a reason I am here in this seat today.
That's right. That's right. And it's a very delicate balance because some people are very tied to believing that what got them there is going to get them to the next stage, whether it's to 20 million or 30 million in ARR and beyond. And coming with
Founders delusional about where they are and they're no, that's not a thing, Eric. We all are
coming in with fresh eyes and being able to point out areas of the business that just aren't
yeah.
optimized and aren't enhanced the way that they need to be is a delicate dance because you've got to do that in a cultural environment that you want to be sensitive to pulling teams together and driving alignment and not separating, right? And not outcasting organizations, but truly uniting them. So it's been a great experience and a very big learning experience over the last.
I think the learning experience. So the things that I tend to think about for first time CEOs. If I said, AJ, what would you tell a first time CEO? And I mean, expect the unexpected for startups is the obvious. I think the thing that you mentioned it, having a great product and making sure you go to an organization that's a great product. To do that, I would tend to talk to customers. I'm guessing you talked to a few customers before you took the gig, right?
Prior to coming here, I was the president of go-to-market for MindTickle in the sales enablement and training space.
Yeah.
We were a customer of Walnuts, so we used the interactive demo platform for all of our trade shows and our events. And so I had firsthand knowledge of, having deployed this in my own SE teams and my product marketing organization. I knew what it did for us at MindTickle. So that was a great starting point. They've got big enterprise customers, and I've known several of them for years and sold to them. So I blindly called into these companies and said, "Hey, what do you think? And how's the tech and how's the support and how's the experience been?" And as I suspected, it's solid, rock solid from that standpoint. And so a lot of the opportunity or the challenges to become opportunities really existed in the strength of the go-to-market teams, the marketing engine, the sales organization, the success teams, and how we present ourselves to the market. So lots of opportunity there.
I think so. Product would be one thing, and the customer value and delivering customer value. So you had that. I think the thing that I don't think a lot of first-time CEOs deal with, because most companies I know, the CEO themselves deal with this, is board and board dynamics. And that's something you get to learn. Personally, I've had, I think, 70 plus board meetings over the years. I try to keep them quarterly, and sometimes when things aren't going as well, they become monthly. I've never had them go weekly, but there's definitely CEOs that I know that have. And Eric, I'd just be curious to like your experience from a board level of managing that. And when I talk about this, it's first off, boards can be phenomenal, and a lot of times they want to help, they want you to win, right? So they're there to support, but they can get sometimes a little overeager, not fully understand context of things, and that's just the nature of the beast of the board. But going into it, had you had experience board management and venture funded startup in terms of just like having those conversations with investors?
Yeah, a lot of experience. I've raised institutional funding before years ago for several different companies, and even as my role as CEO or president, I've been heavily involved in board discussions and board meetings. It's a very different thing when you're now responsible for it and you're not just a participant in the process. Not only the weekly check-ins, like to your point of, how often are you checking in? How often are you keeping them up to speed? How often are you giving them updates as to how you're progressing? But all the decisions that we're taking, and we're taking some bold decisions,
Yeah.
stepping in and driving some big change within the company. Um, there's a certain level of oversight that they like, certain level of oversight and visibility that you want to provide them, but yet not completely open and transparent, where you feel like you have to educate them as if they were another founder. And so there's a balance between that you've got to strike. And they say the CEO role is the loneliest job in the world. You start to realize why. It's because there's no other person you turn to that's going to help you with,
Yeah.
okay, how do we position this board meeting, and how do we build the messaging, and how do we create the narrative? That's all on you now. There's no one else.
Well, especially as you're coming in as the new CEO, you don't know your team. You have to build that first team mentality of trust and relationship with them. So you're not really sure who you can rely on or not rely on, and that's just the nature of the beast. The third thing that I was going to say for CEOs is literally you just said, which is don't be afraid to make bold decisions, and make unpopular decisions. It's especially when you have founders still involved. I think that was something that I saw really firsthand, where there was some level of indecisiveness when we had a CEO switch, just like not rocking the boat. And I understand that there's a ramping period. You have to get ramped but like we had some indecisiveness about brand choices that we were making in terms of positioning. It seems like you all have had some level of those choices when you first came in. And I'd be curious as to, one, culturally, how did the business handle decisions? Was that something you had to change? And are there areas where you look at it like, okay, I need to come in and make some bolder decisions here?
Yeah, I spent 30 days after joining just doing a listening tour and just getting to know every single person in the company and doing one-on-ones and trying to get everyone's perspective on where they thought the bones were buried and some of the challenges were. Then in January, I took everyone to Tel Aviv, the executive leadership team to Tel Aviv. We did an executive offsite. And part of that was for me to kind of let them get to know me and understand my tone and my pace at which I wanted to run, but also to pull people together and unify them, because this has been very siloed from a leadership team standpoint. So we set an operating plan. We set OKRs, 4 big objectives for the year, and really use that to align the entire executive leadership team. So that was like big challenge number 1 handled. But your point about decision making is really important, because I think that's where this company struggled the most. Various points of views. I like to say strong opinions loosely held across the organization, and they would vacillate and either get sucked into data, paralysis for too long,
Yeah.
or have really strong opinions in some areas and couldn't make progress. Pricing had needed to be updated for several years, and they couldn't get past it. Markets that they knew were unprofitable, that they were continuing to chase
Just a
after,
cut.
they would just continue to keep doing it, because
You need to cut.
the decision to not do that was scary and it was hard. And that kind of change, I think oftentimes people tend to get really focused on the negative side of it and the impact it's going to create, as opposed to the positive outcomes and the positive impact it's going to have on a company.
Well, no one likes to deliver bad news to someone. So like we had this in our business a couple of years ago, where we started pretty SMB, but have moved to upmarket to mid-market. And we had a segment that was like micro SMB. We're like, we just have to cut this part of the business, but we've got to rip the Band-Aid off and deliver the bad news. And of course, the CEO has to just kind of own that piece of it, but it makes it feel like it's a slight against them, that they failed in their decision making, and therefore they're not able to like move up. So I understand that paralysis. And then, as you said, it's just a lonely road. So like they're thinking that, but they don't have anyone to be a sounding board sometimes to do that.
It's a hard thing to say no to revenue, right? It's
hard. Yeah, very hard.
Especially when the pressure's on you for growth and for performance. Walking away from a segment of the market that it may not be a fit for you. And I think it causes other things. Like when you dig deeper into that problem, it's really hard to build a product that suits everybody's needs. And if you
Yeah.
really want to attack the enterprise, you should really question whether you're trying to sell the SMB at the same time, because those are two different product strategies and two different, you know, ways to go to market entirely, different companies. And so trying to do everyone that serves, trying to do everything that serves everyone well is just a
Fool's
impossible,
errand.
impossible.
Yeah, it's not going to work. We know this as operators for myself. It's been 15 plus years, actually. To turn 40, so it's 20 years at this point. Say that. Ugh. But we know this. We learn those lessons, but sometimes it's really difficult when you're in the position and you're relearning the lesson to just make the counterintuitive decision, as you said, revenue. The Eric, today, so 6 months in, and you've learned quite a bit around. Like, what are you looking forward to for the rest of the year at Walnut?
I think it's exciting when you start to tackle some of these big initiatives. I mentioned pricing and overhauling pricing strategy and market segmentation and who we really want to focus on. You start to rebuild certain aspects of the team. We brought in a new head of marketing in January, hired a new head of success recently. So refortifying some of these organizations with experienced executives with fresh eyes has really helped breathe new life into the company. I think the other founding members and the other team members start to see the progress and start to see the success that we're creating in market, and it becomes a buzz, and that's what you want.
Yeah.
You want everyone excited and pulling in the same direction and aligned and feeling really good. So we're really bullish about what the year provides. We're on a pretty good growth streak right now, and we're excited about the expansion of a new product line that's going to come out next month. So
Awesome.
the second new product line that we get to introduce to the market and create even more buzz. We're gonna have a good run at it, and we're pretty excited about what the future holds for us.
Well, Eric, I noticed in you talking about some of these ideas of trust and getting alignment. Your favorite book is also my favorite book, which is The Five Dysfunctions of a Team. Absolutely love Patrick Lencioni's book there. We actually have a management offsite next week, and we all read The Advantage. So I don't know if you've read The Advantage by Patrick Lencioni. Great follow-up.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a great follow-up.
And so there's like 6 questions there. So we did like a pre-read 6 questions, and I'm excited to see how aligned or misaligned we are headed into
awesome.
next week.
Yeah.
Eric, do you have any other like podcasts or content that you're listening to, or might not have to do with business at all, but things that like the audience might appreciate?
There's another book I'd recommend outside of just the 5 dysfunctions of a team, and it's Good to Great. Super easy read. Case studies on several different companies that have kind of made that transition from good companies to great companies.
That's a classic. I think that's the very first business book like I ever read in my entire career.
It's an easy read, and I keep going back to it, and I find that every time I read it, I pick out different things out of
Yeah.
So
It's same thing with 5 Dysfunctions. I read it every other year, and like that story, it's a quick read, but it pulled things out. And the data in Good to Great is just the thing that's like that was quote unquote revolutionary in 99 or 2000 when it was written, but it still holds, and I agree, timeless.
yeah, very much.
Eric, thanks for joining us today. If people want to find you, reach out, or learn more about Walnut, what's their best approach?
You can always email eric@walnut.io. Come to our website, or track us down. We're happy to talk to you and happy to share with you what we think we can do for you from a value standpoint.
Great, perfect. Well, Eric, thank you so much, and this has been another great episode of Topline Spotlight. Thanks, Eric.
Awesome. Thanks, AJ.
Thanks for listening to Topline. New episodes come out every Sunday. If you like what you heard today, subscribe so you never miss an episode, leave a 5-star review, and share it with your friends. Don't forget to join our Topline Slack channel to connect with us and discuss the topics we cover with other listeners. Click the link in the show notes. Lastly, if you're interested in joining Pavilion, you can learn more about membership at joinpavilion.com/membership. Thanks again for listening.